if you were one of the people watching or if you were one of the people in the building, UFC 299 was headlined by Sean O'Malley versus Marlon Vera. Obviously, Sean O'Malley won the fight fairly dominantly. He was already becoming one of the biggest stars in the company. The metrics on the socials, and we all saw how big of a deal it was when he knocked out Aljamain. Was it on how it was on YouTube? It performed them, how it performed them on social stuff like that. But there was all this conversation about how this event was going to do because maybe the gate and the buys weren't big enough to win over Sterling. But gate for this fight was the fourth biggest in UFC history. The only time there have been bigger gates in UFC history, for people that don't know the term gate, that means tickets sold at the arena, were for Conor McGregor fights. And that was like later in his career, the Poirier fights and all the Khabib Nurmagomedov fights, stuff like that. All Signs probably did well on pay-per-view, but, it's always different behind the paywall and stuff like that. But that said, I mean, he's the kind of fighter that really fits this generation and even connects with the older fans. Is Sean O'Malley the new face of the UFC after this win over Marlon Vera? And if it's not him, who is the face of the company?
I'm going to say that Sean O'Malley might be on his way to that, but he's not yet. I think a lot of the success around UFC 299, we've got to spread a little bit of it, right? I mean, that's the case with a lot of the big pay-per-view events because they tend to stack those with a fair amount of a star value. But let's not forget that according to some of our colleagues that were at the event that were covering UFC 299, like 40% of the media was there from Ecuador. 40% of the media was Spanish speaking to see Chito Vera in his challenge for the title. So I think we need to show some love to him because bringing in an entirely new audience to the experience definitely will boost a lot of those numbers. Dustin Poirier is also one of the tried and true vets in the company, and he had a prominent place in the co-main event and one of the standout moments in the entire event. So he deserves some of that love. I think Sean O'Malley is probably one win away from being that star. And I mean, maybe this will be a different conversation if he got a spectacular finish. I mean, he did everything but finish Chito Vera. If he got that finish and got that highlight reel and they got that other clip that they could post to social and watch it go viral and stuff, then maybe we're having that conversation. As far as who actually is the face of the UFC now, by the way the broadcast ran, I'd say it was Donald Trump. Donald Trump got more love on the broadcast than all the fighters. Yeah. So yeah, that's my stance on that one.
You know what? I'm going to go in the direction that he is the face, mainly because, and I think you kind of went on it, there really is no other face. I think if this fight happened at, say, like UFC 295 or 294, and he had time to get to UFC 300, he'd probably be the main event of UFC 300 because there's just a lack of faces. Conor, we've talked about it. He's probably not going to fight again. He's not nobody you can rely on. The UFC 300 main event, love the fight, Jamal Hill versus Alex Pereira, but that's not Brock Lesnar versus Frank Mir. That's not the dream fight of John Jones against Dave Cormier. That was going to be a 100, 200. He's a young fighter. It's only his second defense. I mean, if he would have got the finish, man, because in the end, and I was talking about with my friend watching the fight, no one's finished Marlon Vera. It's crazy. Marlon Vera has fought so many people, so many times, and no one finishes him. And he came as close as you can get by just pummeling him for 5 rounds. But yeah, I just think he fits the time we're in. The tattoo face. I hate face tattoos. It's ridiculous, but it works for him. The colored hair. We're going for the TikTok crowds. We're going for the millennials and the generations after that. And he fits it. And what works for him is, he's a trash talker and he's weird, but he's not a trash talker that turns you off. But some people don't like it, but I mean of the Colby Covington level and even Chael Sonnen at his best. He's a smart businessman who will trash talk to a level and sell, but he's not an idiot, So I really think he is the face just because there's a lack of it, and I think we'll see that. He needed to get this win. He needed to get it clearly. He didn't get the finish, but he got it dominantly, avenged that loss that everybody thought maybe was a fluke. And that's why I'm going to go with it. Now, the following up on that question, it seems like Merab Dvalishvili's got to be next. I mean, personally, I would love to see him fight Corey Sandhagen. I think that fight would be hot fire. That could have been a perfect 300 main event. But Marab deserves a shot. I'm not one of those people that is mean. Screw them up. Marab, the dude, I think he's won 8 or 9 in a row. Not even like 8 or 9 close fights, barely split. Dominant. The guy has hardly lost a round like his last four or five fights. The big question is then, is this the guy that finally gives Sean O'Malley a problem? Is he the wrestling test we've all wanted? Is he the stylistic matchup that it's just going to be too much of a puzzle to fill? To answer for O'Malley and whenever they fight, maybe in the summer.
Well, I definitely agree that Marab is the guy that should be next up. As much as I think the Corey Sandhagen fight would be a better fight, I think that would be the
Mm-hmm.
more entertaining fight. And from, a couple guys who really enjoy like watching the technique of it all and trying to break that down,
Mm-hmm.
Corey Sandhagen presents a lot of puzzles that I think would be interesting to see Sean try to solve. But Davalishvili, I mean, what he did to Henry Cejudo, what he did to
Yeah.
Piotr Jan. I mean, this is the clear number one contender, and there should be there, at some point, we have to start acknowledging people who are on these ridiculous win streaks and who are defeating all this top tier talent
Yep.
to get them title shots, and not have Bilal Muhammad situations continue to repeat themselves, like as
Yeah.
Leon Edwards experienced before. And so we don't need to have that happen. So let these guys who actually earn their title shots get them. I do think Marab can give Sean O'Malley a lot of problems because his wrestling attack and because his endless cardio. But I'm gonna jump out here right now and say it. Maybe when that fight is actually made and we break it down, I'll have a change of heart. But where I'm sitting right now, I don't think Sean O'Malley's gonna have too much trouble in this one.
I
I
agree.
think this is a very winnable fight for him.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like Willie as dominant as he can be at times. It's based on this sort of junk volume. I would
Yeah.
say it's almost like Colby Covington's game, where you
Yeah.
throw out a lot of volume that's not necessarily effective, but it's just overwhelming. And then someone's so confused and overwhelmed that then they get kind of caught in this web, and it's hard to get out of it. Marab fights like that, but I don't think O'Malley is going to necessarily, unless he just purely gasses out. Unless he
Yeah.
gasses out, I think O'Malley just sits back and picks him apart, man. I think he gives him so much work as he's trying to come in to throw those junk takedown attempts that it's just not going to be worth it on just the damage that he's going to receive. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think O'Malley wins that one.